Welcome to this deep dive analysis. Today, we're exploring a truly profound philosophical metaphor drawn from a fascinating text known as the 10th word. We're going to look way beyond the surface of the physical world and ask some, massive questions about purpose and existence. We'll be breaking down incredibly deep concepts about the nature of our reality, the systems we interact with every single day, and the hidden meaning behind literally all of it. So get ready, because we're about to take a conceptual journey that might just completely change the way you look at the world around you. Okay, let's dive right into this. I want you to take a second and just imagine you're standing in the center of the world's busiest airport, or maybe a massive, bustling, flawlessly operating train station. You're looking out the window and you see hundreds of planes taxiing, taking off, and landing. And here's a wild fact. There are roughly 10,000 planes in the sky at any given second, right? 10,000. Yet the system works flawlessly. You see luggage carts weaving in and out, fueling trucks arriving at the exact right moment, and thousands of passengers finding their gates. Actually, scratch that, it's not just motion. It's a perfect symphony of motion. Now here is the big question to really hook your curiosity. Is it actually possible for such an incredibly complex, fast-moving network to operate entirely on its own, completely devoid of any central management? Could it just happen by chance? I mean, of course, our immediate logic tells us absolutely no way.
So that brings us to part one, perfectly functioning complex systems.
The source text uses the imagery of modern transit to represent the sheer scale and harmony of the physical world we live in. We kind of take it for granted, don't we? But when you stop and actually analyze the mechanics of the universe, from the massive macroscopic orbits of planets all the way down to the microscopic workings of a single human cell, you realize you're looking at a system of just mind-boggling complexity. When we talk about these flawlessly functioning systems, we're talking about macroscopic and microscopic perfection. We're talking about hundreds of airplanes in constant motion, massive interconnected train networks spanning entire continents, incredibly precise scheduling down to the literal millisecond, and perfectly synchronized movements. Think about it. If just one train is off by a few minutes or one plane's coordinates are slightly miscalculated, the whole shebang risks total collapse. Yet, it doesn't. These moving parts function in perfect, continuous harmony. The precision required to maintain this is just staggering.
Let's move on to part two. The magnificent management behind. Recognizing this level of precision naturally forces us to transition from merely observing the physical parts to acknowledging the unseen reality. Because behind every complex, functioning system you've ever encountered in your life, there lies an unseen but entirely undeniable governing force. You might not physically see the air traffic controllers up in the tower, but you know with absolute certainty that they're there, guiding the flow. And this brilliantly illustrates the perspective of what the source text refers to as the sure friend. This friend is basically acting as our guide in the metaphor, pointing to the undeniable evidence right in front of our eyes. They say, come look, these magnificent trains, planes, and depots show a glorious management is in control. The physical structures, the depots, the carefully arranged exhibitions, the flawless execution of the schedules, they are all physical proof of a non-physical reality. They're the fingerprints of a glorious, hidden authority that's actively ruling and maintaining order. The system itself is the absolute evidence of the manager.
Which leads us to part three, the temporary guest house and passengers.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the fascinating paradox we hit. On one side, we have this incredible, permanent-feeling effort, the magnificent management and order, the flawless systems, the massive infrastructure, the meticulous attention to detail. But then, on the flip side, who is this all for? Short-term, temporary guests, the passengers. Think about an airport for a second. Nobody actually lives at the airport, right? You only go there to leave. So we have this monumental, enduring infrastructure serving a population that is incredibly fleeting. The text points out a really crucial dilemma here. Such a magnificent management naturally demands a worthy public to appreciate and benefit from it. Yet in this metaphor, the public is merely gathered in a temporary guest house. They are arriving and departing constantly. One group comes in, stays for a remarkably brief moment, and then vanishes, only to be replaced by another group that will also soon disappear. If the management is so grand and the effort so immense, why is the experience of the guests so incredibly brief? It feels almost like a complete waste of resources if this temporary station is the final destination, doesn't it? All right, let's unpack part four, the logical necessity of permanent palaces. Let's move to the next point and see exactly how this builds. Because if this temporary station doesn't make sense on its own given the massive effort put into it, There just has to be something more. Step 1. We have clearly observed a precisely planned, flawless system that is undeniable. Step 2. We acknowledge that expending such massive, meticulous effort solely for a temporary, vanishing purpose is completely illogical. I mean, a grand master doesn't build a masterpiece just to immediately burn it to the ground, right? Step 3. Therefore, a permanent equivalent is mathematically and philosophically expected. The temporary station only makes sense if it's a transit point to a permanent destination.
So, the crucial point is this. Massive effort cannot exist just for something that vanishes. The source text concludes that behind this temporary square, behind this fleeting, transient world we currently inhabit, there must logically be permanent palaces and eternal residences. This perfectly ordered temporary world, with all of its intricate management, is not the end goal. It's essentially the waiting room. It necessitates an eternal destination that actually matches the sheer grandeur of the management we observe here.
Finally, we arrive at part 5, perfection and the Quran's message.
This logical deduction doesn't just stand on its own as some abstract philosophical exercise. It's firmly grounded in theological truth. The source text draws directly from Surah Al-Mulk, chapter 67, verse 3, which states, "You will not see any flaw in the creation of the Most Compassionate. Look again. Can you see any flaws?" This is such a powerful directive. It's literally asking us to actively, critically look at the systems of the universe, whether it's the macro system of a city or an airport, or the microsystem of our own bodies, the beating of our hearts, the firing of our neurons. We are being challenged to find a break in the consistency. The flawless nature of creation is presented as the ultimate proof of the designer, absolutely validating everything we've deduced from our metaphor today.
And so, as we come to the end of our analysis, I want to leave you with this final, lingering thought. Look at the systems around you today. Look at the staggering complexity of nature, of human biology, of the universe itself. Have you ever truly stopped and thought that all this incredible effort, all this flawless design, just couldn't possibly be for nothing? That a system this perfect must be pointing towards something permanent? Take that question with you as you walk through the temporary guest house of the world today. Thank you so much for joining me on this exploration. Keep observing, keep questioning, and I'll catch you in our next deep dive.